We had a rubber coconut. Welcome to Lost All Caps.
Welcome.
That's my intro today. Oh, we had a rubber coconut.
We had a rubber coconut.
We had a rubber coconut.
What more do you need to know?
This episode has audio commentary, and
I was very wary about the audio commentary.
we were worried.
We were worried because it's like, I know what they're like
Yeah.
with everything.
The Hearts and Minds audio commentary was
With like,
horrific.
And some of the stuff they've said about like June and the Sun in the audio commentary has been like really dodgy. So we were like, this is going to be interesting. Shockingly, nothing massively ableist was said. Nothing massively fatphobic was said.
honestly, it was largely irrelevant. They mostly just talked about the weather.
It was kind of just them being like, wasn't it so cloudy when
It
we
was
filmed
so
this?
windy. Look at my hair all going in my face. That was like the entire audio commentary. So why they even bothered, part of me is like, I don't even know. But yeah, it was Jorge Garcia, Cynthia, I don't know what her surname is actually. Watros, maybe?
I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's that.
Who plays Libby, and Jack Bender, who directed this episode and is also the executive producer for the show. He's like the main
He's like the big guy.
really. Him and Damon Lindelof. But yeah, despite how like this episode is full of like plot twists and things that might be like indicative of like the wider lore of the show and like things that are left very, very much unexplained. Literally none of that was addressed at all. And there was one bit, the bit where Dave, Hurley says to Dave, "You're not real," and then he throws a coconut at him and it hits him. Cynthia said in the audio commentary, "Now, how was he able to do that if he wasn't real?"
If it hit him.
And Jorge just went, "We had a rubber coconut."
But it does hurt when it hits you still.
Let me tell you. And then the conversation moved on. And I was just like, Diva, that's not what she meant.
It's not what she was
That's
asking.
clearly not what she was referring to. So now I think I'm going to adopt that. Rubber coconut is going to be like the phrase that I use.
If I just don't want to explain something.
Yeah, whenever like the show sort of like really poorly explains something or leaves a massive question unanswered or just like uses something to shoehorn in as an explanation without really diving into it to try and cover a plot hole.
We had a rubber coconut.
We had a rubber coconut. It's a rubber coconut situation.
Sort of like red herring, but like stupider.
Yeah.
Rubber
Well, a
coconut.
red herring is like something that's deliberately there to kind of try and throw you off. This is more like
It's like the opposite.
the opposite. It's like shoving something in to try and answer it. Oh, we had a rubber coconut.
We had a rubber coconut.
We had a rubber coconut.
So, I'm Velvet.
And I'm Ariel.
And this is episode... Oh god, what number are we on now? 46?
Good question. 47? 47.
47. Dave.
And before we get into Dave, actually, it's a good thing that you mentioned two things that we completely forgot to mention last week. Last week's recording was a bit hectic and chaotic because right before we started recording, I broke the pot that we keep our pasta in, just dropped it on the floor and it smashed everywhere. And then when we finished the recording, we realised that Velvet's camera didn't record, like, the entire thing.
Yeah, my camera recorded 17 seconds.
17 seconds of a 2-hour recording!
Of us going, okay, you ready to start? Yeah, I'm ready to start. And then the video cuts off.
Everything was a bit chaotic and frazzled last week, so we forgot to mention that Lockdown is actually the 42nd episode of the TV show. That's actually episode 42. So obviously we talked a lot about the 42nd episode of our podcast being one of them and how exciting it was because that's a really exciting episode. So that worked out really nicely. It was partly intentional. But the actual 42nd episode of the show is Lockdown, and I think that works really well because
definitely done intentionally.
Yeah, it's something that is really... It feels like it's going back to numbers in a way, in the way that it's sort of like really mysterious, like really, really drawing out the mystery.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And it's just like really like high tension, really fun, like, intricate plot line for sure. And also we're on a new disc. So Lockdown and Dave
both on a new DVD, which has Jin and Sun on the front, and on the actual DVD itself, it has the Blastor map.
Which we were looking at last week. We were looking at it to try and figure out like what the map was pointing to.
But it's crazy that that's on the DVD. I mean, I guess they're assuming when they made these DVDs, you'd already watched it on telly.
Yeah, but to see that and be like, what
on earth is that? So let's get into it. I reckon I'm going to largely be letting you take the reins today.
I have a lot to say about this episode. The first thing to say is the big old content warning at the beginning of it. So, yeah, we're going to be discussing like eating disorders, particularly binge eating, psychosis, depression, like a lot of sort of mental illness things, the good, the bad, and the ugly of that in general, and also in how it's done in the show.
Yeah.
The kind of fat phobia and size element of it also. So the main thing that I have to say about this episode is that, like, I have personally struggled with an eating disorder for a long time, and it's a different thing to Hurley. It's, you know, like a very completely different story. You know, I haven't broken a raft or anything, but
you also don't need to talk about this if you don't want
to. No, but I want to, because like the thing that I want to say about it is because of that, like oh my god, I forgot I had a meeting tonight. I find this episode very difficult to watch because of that. And that I want to highlight because that is a positive review of the episode.
I see.
So I find it upsetting to watch because I find that it is, personally, I feel represented very authentically and is done in a way that really sort of connects with like my own experiences and my own kind of awareness of like eating, that like, yeah, it's like it's upsetting but in a good way, because I'm like, oh, they really hit it in the right spot. And I think that's really rare with this show. Like, you know, I love it. I do, obviously. We're here. But like, with a lot of the stuff they do in the show, it's often like, ooh, it's for shock value, you know? Or it's for like, isn't that exciting if this character has this thing? And like, I can very much see a version of this episode where it's like, wouldn't it be crazy if Hurley started hallucinating?
Totally.
You know? And it's like, but actually I do think it's done really well. And I was actually in a way disappointed by the audio commentary because we didn't hear anything about the way it was written, the choice to go down this route with the story or anything like that also.
I would have really been interested to find out, like, how early had they planned this? Because obviously we had, like, I think partially the reason that Hurley being institutionalized was part of his backstory was so that he could hear the numbers, because I think that kind of device is something that especially early 2000s TV really, really liked. The kind of quote-unquote crazy guy, and I apologize for using that terminology, but like the kind of hearing the numbers from Leonard, I think they wanted to use, because obviously it's very exciting, like, to think about how on earth he links to the island and the fact that it's kind of driven him to madness. So I think partially that was almost the only reason, but I would really like to know actually if they had planned from the very beginning for Hurley to have this as part of his backstory and for it to be related to his weight and his eating disorder, or if that was something that was brought in later. I would be interested to know that.
Yeah,
we didn't get to find out.
would be interested to know. And I think like a really big thing about Hurley to me also is that it's like he rejects every single crazy guy stereotype.
Yeah, totally,
you know? Like, he's very social. He's very easy to get along with. He makes a lot of jokes. He doesn't, like, talk about, you know, his experiences, like, at all. There's never, like, a, you know, mystical reason for his whatever. And, like, I think...
Despite being a character who is kind of at the centre of a lot of the mystery on the island...
Very much is connected to the magic of the island, but it's never like you were chosen by the magic or anything like that. And even with Dave, like, it's very different to, like, when Jack sees Christian, for example.
Yeah.
Completely different scenario. And I think actually, like, it's such a good choice to have, you know, the crazy guy not be the crazy guy, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, he, you know...
Because how many episodes have we had? We've had at least 2 now. I'm thinking White Rabbit and the horse one. Both linked to animals. Coincidence? Or fate? Where a character has seen a kind of hallucination, whether that is an actual hallucination or if it is a ghost or if it's whatever it is, and gone, I think I'm going crazy, has been an actual phrase that they've said in the show.
I think they both said it. I know Jack definitely does.
Kate definitely does.
People don't think they're going crazy, they think they're getting saner.
Exactly. And Kate's there crying to Charlie, isn't she? Like, I'm going crazy because I saw the horse. So it's like, they don't do that here.
Yeah, they don't. And I think it's so important to have a character who is experiencing almost this thing that is like characters like Jack and Kate, for them it's like their worst fear. And it's like really Hurley is just going through it. And I really like that it doesn't mean anything also. Like, I was writing about this right at the towards the end of the episode, like in my notes. But like, if you take it in steps, certain elements of it, I'm using the phrase make sense, not in the sense of, like, as in align with the plot in the way you would expect. So, for example, like, hearing the numbers, finding out the numbers are real and that he's not, like, noticing patterns and that, like, Rousseau knows about the numbers and stuff. That makes sense with the plot, right? It's like the numbers aren't, he's not crazy. The numbers are real, the numbers are magic. That makes sense as, like, a narrative.
Yeah.
In the world of the world of the show. Looking at, like, you know, him going into this depressive state because of the traumatic event of, like, the, a deck that collapsed, and that leading into, like, problems with his, like, body image and binge eating makes sense as a narrative. Yeah. But then to be like, he is hallucinating a man who is, like, representative of all of those, like, this, like, negative self-talk, doesn't make sense, quote unquote, in the same way, because we as viewers are waiting for the, like, magical solution to this, you know? Like, we're watching it going like, oh, but why? Why is Dave back? What's he doing? Was Dave taking Hurley to the island the whole time? Was it all? And so when we're led down this route of, like, it's not real, he's making it up, it's all fake. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's not. That's just something that happens to Hurley. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it's not divine intervention. It's not magical, like, you know, ghosts. It's not anything. It is just a manifestation of Hurley's, you know, like, trauma and mental struggle that happens to him. And that is a part of his character. Yeah. But it is not, like, a part of his character in the same way that, like, seeing, like, the horse is a part of Kate's character. Yeah. It's done in a really different way, and I think it's done in an intentionally different way.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's, like, not what they're going for. And I think, I love that it's done, like, within the text and within the narrative, I love that it's done. And I think also there is an element of meta commentary to it as well, of, like, going, hey, everything's made up, it's not real, this theory you guys are going for, and then being like, that can't be true.
Yeah, very, they were dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, addressing that kind of theory that was floating around at the time.
And they actually said in the commentary, that scene where Dave is saying, like,
oh yes,
where he's saying, like,
that was a really funny part of the commentary.
And where did you see the numbers? Oh, and what do you put in the hatch? The numbers. Yeah. Oh, and the pretty blonde girl who just happens to have feelings for you. And they said that actually that scene was originally a lot longer, and he was just listing, like, every plot hole
and narrative convenience and, like, you know, every sort of, like, contrivance that the show does. He was just going on and on, like, oh, and you just so happen to have a doctor who could cure all of your injuries, and it just really comes.
And then they realised that it just wouldn't work.
Actually, maybe not. Let's not acknowledge all of that.
They were like, maybe let's not point out all of these things. But I do think, like, you were joking earlier, but I do think it kind of lends itself to the kind of coincidence fate thing in a way as well.
I guess.
Because it's a bit like, is it, is it that, like, you just have to accept the island's magic? Is it that, like, you just gotta, it is what it is. It's magical. Is it? Can it be explained? Can it be whatever? And it's like, we don't know, but we know that it's real.
Yeah.
We know that it's happening. And this confirmation for me is that it's like, at the end of this episode, you're going, it is real.
Yes.
It is happening.
And I do actually really think it's really interesting that for one episode, we're taken down this road. Because, like, it wasn't unheard of at the time. Shit, I forgot to Google this before we started recording. But I'm pretty sure it was Dallas, which was a very popular TV show in, like, the 80s, maybe, that did, like, a whole series that was just a dream.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And people were pissed off because, like, the season finale or the start of the next season was this woman, like, waking up and being like,
oh yes, oh my god, no, I've heard of this.
It was like her husband had died or something, but they wanted to retcon killing off the character or something like that, so they had it as a dream.
Yes, because it's been parodied in other stuff.
Yeah. And there's also something about, like, a little boy as well, like a TV show all being inside the mind of a little boy. And then because that TV show references other TV shows, there's, like, this weird sort of MCU of this little boy who's imagined all of these TV shows because they've all been referenced in other TV shows or something. But I can't remember what the name of that is.
Yes, it's here, Dallas season 9. In the season 10 premiere, it's revealed that Pamela was dreaming the entire previous season, including the death of her husband, to retcon his death and bring him back into the show.
Yes, see? I remember things that Mum tells me in a furious rage.
That's so crazy.
But this is the thing. It had happened before.
That was in
major
the 80s.
network television in America. So Lost could have done that. Do you know what I mean? And also everything that Dave is saying does kind of make sense. I know what you're saying, right? In that makes sense, quote unquote. Because the numbers, and I really liked when he went, bingo, the hat. And it's like, yeah.
Because it's like, that's what you go, like, sometimes you have these moments as a viewer where you go, oh, of course.
Yeah,
but of course it's the numbers, that kind of thing.
But also, like, wouldn't it be interesting if it was all inside Hurley's head, you know?
That'd be fascinating.
If he'd created all of these people with all of their lives and we'd seen all of their backstories and stuff. Like, it doesn't make sense, and that's why I think the way that Libby takes it down is really clever, because
really
she goes,
good.
This is something that happened to me on this island that really deeply affected me.
And you don't know about it.
You don't know about
because you didn't make it up. Yeah.
It was
and I
real.
think it's done so well as well, because it's like, this is one of those moments where, like, and we'll talk about it, but, like, Libby being a psychologist, and we kind of mentioned about maternity leave, we were like, that's bullshit, like, no one would ever no psychologist is going to be like, I'm going to hypnotize you. But this is something that actually leads me to be like, she does have, maybe she does have, like, psychological training, because, like, that is, like, that not arguing against him, and not being like, you're being, like, ridiculous, like, take a deep breath, you're fine, is just matching it with, like, something that just completely and it's like Hurley has built it all up to this point, and we have as viewers built it up with him of, like, this is the only possible explanation, and then she just comes out with, like, one logical point that just tears it all apart, you know, and it all, like, the house of cards just comes falling down, because it's like, oh yeah, what, he doesn't know about the guy with the broken leg.
Yeah, absolutely but yeah, because of things like the numbers being on the island, you really taken on a narrative, I think, as a viewer, which is really interesting, actually. Like, I like what they did with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that is, like, entirely, like, if I was Hurley, I would so believe that. Like, if I was Hurley, I would absolutely be like, yeah, no, you're right, this isn't real.
Yeah.
Something I really like as well, it's like a tiny detail, it's like a throwaway line that Dave has, that even in the, like, this isn't real, he's like, well, the real Dave, though, The real Dave got escaped from the
That Dave
hospital.
was real.
Yeah.
I'm not real, because none of this is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
Really
as well.
interesting, just to just fuck with him even more. It just messes with Hurley's head even more, because it's like that doubting of reality is something that is so common in so many different like anxiety disorders and stuff, and it's just like that thing, every single thing has to be questioned.
And because we now know that Dave is a manifestation of something in Hurley's head, it's like a reveal that anxiety, that what if Dave was real, is still within him somewhere, even after all these years, and him saying I got better, like I was able to leave the psych ward and I got my life back and everything. Like, even though he did heal, there's still something lingering there.
Yeah. It's still like, what if he just shut that window on his friend? And it wasn't anything. But like the idea of a therapist photoshopping a guy out of a picture.
But people believed that it was photoshopped, though.
Yeah,
they were saying in the
apparently.
audio commentary, they were sort of laughing about it. They were like, right, let's look at the placement of the celery plate and the black Connect 4 markers on the table, because apparently there was a theory going around online at the time
that it actually had been photoshopped.
It actually had been photoshopped, or it was a different photo or something, because there were detail. The celery plate was in a different place or something in the photo that he then gave him.
And they had said as well that they had originally, in that last scene, Dave was there taking the picture with Hurley, and then someone else watched it back and went, "You idiots, he can't be there because Libby can't see him." I googled clonazepam as well, because I thought that might give us some. I read the NHS website page for clonazepam. And it's a medication that is prescribed for like panic disorders and also to prevent seizures, depending on what it is. But it is a short-term medication, so it says you only typically prescribed it for like 4 weeks.
Right.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's a new thing, maybe that's a UK thing. You know, that isn't necessarily, maybe he was taking it for longer than that, but I just thought that was interesting. And like, I mean, watching it back, like watching it, knowing how this episode ends, it is so easy to notice the ways that Dave plants doubt in Hurley, like the fact that he's always encouraging him to eat. Yeah. All the time. I mean, the celery thing, I'm like, real, because celery sucks, but like, that being like, that's not a snack. Still Leonard's crackers. Yeah. He won't notice. Yeah. Being like, I mean, even like the one that really gets me is when he makes him eat the lasagna.
Yes, and they said in the audio commentary that was a last minute addition to the script. Yeah. To have the lasagna there. But I was like, that is really powerful, that one.
I think so, because I think it's so, that moment where he's just like, don't waste it, eat that. And Hurley just does it. Yeah. And it's like at a point where Dave has so much control over him that he just does it without even questioning it, without even like, and I think that is something, that pushes Hurley to a point of past doubt, I think. Yeah. Of going, he is, you know.
This is what he's trying to do.
And all the times when I've forgotten the doctor's name, his therapist says like, he doesn't want you to lose weight, does he? And he's like, he's my friend, he's trying to help me. And I think that one is where it's like the most, like, because all the other times with like the tacos, it's like, he's just trying to cheer Hurley up, like.
Yes, but it is interesting the way it's phrased though, when he goes, you've got more important things to think about, like hard shell or soft shell. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Don't think about, what you're learning in therapy. Think about eating more food. And when he says, like, don't take the medication, and right at the end when Hurley says, like, you're not real, and he's like, did you take the pills? And it's like, because he doesn't want him to take them, because then he'll go away. And it just makes so much sense, and it's so, like, easy to connect it all.
Yeah. Especially when you know. And, like, they talked in the audio commentary about, like, Jack Bender was saying that he was influenced by things like The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, huge spoilers. Please skip ahead if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, because it's an amazing film.
And it's really good.
So, I did see the twist coming.
I will say I knew going in.
You knew going in?
Yeah. Because someone had told me about it, like, at school or something. And I still really enjoyed the film. So I would say, even if you know, it's still a really fun watch.
I didn't know. I managed to figure it out. And I still thought it was a really good movie. Yeah. I cried so much.
Oh my god.
I mean, I was quite hormonal when we were watching The Sixth Sense, but I
No,
cried
but
so much. That little boy.
I've forgotten his name, but I saw
Topher.
recently it was like top 10 like child actor performances of all time, and he was number 1.
Definitely.
It's
Oh
like
my
it's up
God.
there with like E.T. and
Yeah.
like you know how everyone will watch like his like audition video and it makes everyone cry. Have
For
you seen
E.T.?
that? For
No,
E.T.,
I haven't
yeah.
seen that.
It's like the audition was this. I've not seen E.T. So I only really know about it from like
How have you not
hearing
seen
about
E.T.?
I've just never seen it.
It's good.
But the audition scene was the scene, well, like maybe like the final round or whatever, was the scene where E.T. is like dying. And yeah, it's like that, and he performs the scene, and then they say you've got the part, and then he gets like really excited, and people watch it and like cry.
Oh,
It's
that's
very much like that,
lovely.
you know. It's up there with like The Shining and stuff. Like, it's an incredible performance from that kid.
Yeah. And crucially, if you don't know, The Sixth Sense is a horror movie. It's
Yes.
not meant to make you cry. I cried so much.
But it is like, because it's scary, but it's so sad, because
It's
it's
so
just like this
sad.
little boy who's so scared of all the
He's
things that are
going
happening to
through
him.
so much. He doesn't want any of this. Oh, anyway, so yeah, so very, very big spoiler for The Sixth Sense.
The plot twist.
The plot twist is Bruce Willis was dead the whole
Bruce
time.
Willis is a
much
ghost.
like the cast of Lost. So, but he was saying about how he watched The Sixth Sense and how, like, there are sort of hints towards it, like the way that he interacts with the environment and the
Yeah.
way that other people interact with him.
They do this incredible thing where it's like, they trick you into thinking that other people have looked at him and talked to him and like, that he's like opened doors and like,
Yeah.
but in actuality, he never physically interacts with anyone other than the kid who
Yeah.
can see ghosts.
Yeah.
And he never, like, there's this one scene where it's like the kid comes home from school and it looks like Bruce Willis has just finished talking to the kid's mum and she's just turned around and walked away. And it's like, you watch it back and they never look at each other. They
Which
never
is
speak
so
to each
funny
other.
because that was the scene that cemented it for me. Because
Really?
I saw them two sat there in silence and I was like, why would they be sat there in silence? That's weird. That's really weird and stilted. And I went, oh my God, he's a ghost. That's how I figured it out. But anyway, so with this episode, if you watch it back closely, like Dave never actually interacts with
Yeah.
anything. Like he doesn't open any doors, he doesn't pick anything up. The basketball gets thrown to Hurley
because they can't see him.
Can't see
He's like
Dave.
yelling at them. He's being like, oh God, they're not listening to me. And it's like, because they can't hear him because he's not there.
Yeah. But also interesting that like Dave is already in the room when Hurley walks in though.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is a really clever sort of tactic. But yeah, I always note, like watching it back, noticing that when the psychologist goes, hello Dave, how are you doing today? He doesn't look him in the eye. He's
Yeah.
kind of going sort of directed to the chair, but he's like looking down at his camera and stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Because
Really
he's
clever.
just like, yeah, entertaining it. And maybe he's doing it to try and get an idea of where he is to take this picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's really
circling
clever.
back really quickly to like the idea that this is all inside Hurley's head, I think the way that they drop hints towards that is really clever as well in this episode with the big picture of the island in the psychologist's office.
Yeah.
That picture is so eye-catching because it's so blue and everything, and it's huge as well. It's bloody massive.
And it's just cut off, like you just can't see it properly.
When it's the close-up on Hurley's face, yeah. And I'm like, okay, if he is still in the psych ward, he's seen that photo
and gone, what would it be like to live there?
and he's imagined this world on the island, and like the bit when Dave is trying to convince him that this is the case, he leads him through this little path and there's loads of red flowers everywhere.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice this when we were watching it, but they talked about it on the audio commentary. How they wanted to kind of create like an Alice in Wonderland effect. I think they called it
Yeah.
Hurley in Wonderland, you know, and it's like kind of a bit surreal. With
And
all
it's
of these
also a
red
bit
flowers.
like as well the poppy field in Wizard of Oz that makes you fall
Yeah.
asleep.
Yeah.
Very similar. Yeah, and that is actually a really clever scene as well. And once again, my film tutors are going to be upset with me because I've forgotten the term for it. I literally learned about it 2 days ago. But there's a technique that is used in like horror films and in psychological horror, which is basically like manipulating your expectations of a film. So it's called like, I'm not gonna remember. But it's basically like, for example, when like there's like high-pitched violin music, it's like building up, and then they pull back the curtain and it's just a cat.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, where it's like they manipulate your expectations so that you tense up and then it's something else. And the thing specifically with shots is where you're shown, say if I had like a shot of me looking at something and then like me looking up and then a shot of the sky, you would assume that I'm looking at the sky. But then it would be like the shot of the sky and then like through a window you see me walking along this hallway.
Oh.
And it's like, that's not what I'm looking at. It's this other thing. And that scene, and also it would be like missing out bits. So like you've skipped out me going into the building.
Yeah.
And then you get more confused and it feels more like a sort of dream or like something that you can't trust. And this does that in that scene where Hurley is chasing Dave and it's like they're in like the thick of the jungle. And then suddenly they're on the beach. And it just like that where it turns around and it's Echo and Charlie, you just do not expect that to happen. And it's that kind of thing of it just all gets a bit discombobulated.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know what's true anymore and what to expect. And it creates that feeling of like, this is not real.
Yeah, almost like he's running through a maze or something.
Yeah. Or like that thing of like, it will take you... The like running into the jungle will take you out wherever you need it to. You know, like in My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Where sometimes when they go through the tunnel, they find Totoro's like tree, and sometimes they just come back out again into the garden. It's like, no, where he needs to go, he will end up and he can't escape. He can't like, there's no like agency in that. Or like the episode of Adventure Time that you hate.
Yeah.
But it felt very, I wrote down that it feels very Sisyphean, this episode to me.
Ooh, interesting.
Because of that thing of destroying the food stash and then you get the next drop.
Yeah.
Was what really, like, what I noticed. But I think it can be said about many things about Hurley's kind of mental state, is that it's like, he turns a corner towards recovery, and then is hit with something that makes it so much worse. If you think about like when he in Everybody Hates Hugo, when it's like all of his life starts looking up because he's won the lottery, and then everything becomes terrible again. And like when here, you know, he's moving on, he's starting to exercise with Libby and he's enjoying himself, and then Dave comes back and makes him doubt everything again. And it's that idea of like, it's something that I find a lot personally, but in a lot of the way people talk about kind of mental health recovery and stuff, is it's that like, just there's always that cycle of like something happens and then you just feel like you're back where you started. And that like, yeah, it feels very real in the way that Hurley is just like, when they find the food and he's just like, no, not again. And I really like that scene as well, where they're all going through it and they're being like, how are we gonna split it up? Like, what are we gonna do with it? First of all, when Libby says, why don't we all just trust each other? And Sawyer's like, well, that's a fucking stupid idea. I was like, okay.
Hippie.
Didn't realise the communists were in. I was like, okay, Sawyer, chill out.
I know.
But like that, like them being like, and I think something so important about them designating Hurley as the trustworthy one as well. When Charlie says, let's you choose someone trustworthy, we all trust Hurley.
Like you, baby napper. I did enjoy that.
It's funny. He's like, no, Hurley. And Hurley's like, don't trust me.
Yeah.
I can't be trusted.
Exactly.
I'm, crazy.
Yes.
In air quotes.
Yes. And I think that's really important too. But also, this is kind of what Hurley feared would happen, right? Because when in Everybody Hates Hugo, when the food was sort of analogous, I would say. Analogous to money. And he was saying, I know what it's like when you suddenly have loads of everything, everyone's demanding and trying to snatch bits for themselves. That's exactly what happens when the pallet drop happens. Everyone is ripping it apart. and grabbing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fighting.
And like, I think this episode puts a really interesting new perspective on Everybody Hates Hugo as a whole as well. Especially like that dream sequence at the beginning. That's a nightmare. Looking at that after this episode, that is a nightmare that he's having.
Yeah.
You know? Where he's surrounded by this food and he can't control himself.
Yeah.
And he just has to eat it all. Like, that's something that he's afraid is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think all the moments...
really important to point out.
Like, all the moments where Hurley eats in this episode are very specifically intentionally gross. Yeah. And that's definitely done on purpose. Like, the fact that he's always talking with his mouth full and that he's like, you know, even when they destroy the stash and it's like the ranch goes everywhere. And like, again, how much ranch do they have?
Another jar of ranch. I couldn't believe it. So much ranch in that hatch.
And it's like, it's all intentionally really gross because it's like, that is how, you know, that is how it feels. It's like the eating is gross and you can feel that he's really ashamed of it and that he feels disgusting in that he's doing it, but he still is doing it and he cannot like control that behavior. And it's like, it's so, it's difficult to watch, but it's really well done. Absolutely.
Something that I think is really interesting about Dave as a character and like how we've been talking about how they sort of cleverly make it so that he doesn't interact with the environment. He interacts with Hurley physically a lot.
Yes.
He sort of, in the flashbacks, he like slaps him and
Was
stuff.
that a hallucination?
Was that a hallucination? I could have just hallucinated you hitting me. We could do this all night. And the coconut, we had a rubber coconut, and things like that on the island as well. And the shoe.
The shoe is very interesting.
The shoe is very interesting. Now, I find this very interesting because it could be seen as a plot hole as to how these things can happen physically in the real world if the world is indeed the real world and not a fictional world as Dave claims it to be.
Yeah.
But I think it can actually be explained. Because to me, I'm a very big sci-fi fan. And so is Hurley. We know that he reads comic books and he talks about Star Wars in this episode.
I actually noticed specifically when Dave brings that up, when he goes, do you think they actually blew up the Death Star? I was like, it's like mentioning sort of Hurley's imagination and his like...
Exactly. This is his own reasoning to himself. And I think, like, if I was in a book or a play or like a movie or a TV show and sci-fi things were happening to me, I would need bits of justification in order to believe it, like being hit in the face. Do you know what I mean? Like, if this was happening to me, obviously I know it's a very different scenario, but I think, like, in order to believe a kind of something that's a bit more fantastical, you have to have logic there. And when you watch sci-fi shows and things happen and you're like, no, there's no logic there or whatever, like, you understand that kind of... So, like, time travel, for example. I love time travel. It's my favourite trope in any fictional thing. But I get very bogged down in the nerdy details of, no, but you couldn't have travelled to that time because that would have caused a paradox, and what are the rules of time travel in this world, and do they stick to those rules, and yada, yada, yada. And I think that is what's happening within Hurley's own brain with Dave, because he's going, you can't be real because, X, Y, Z, and he's going, here's a piece of evidence to show you I am real. And then he is convinced because he's convincing himself, and it's all within that cycle.
That is really interesting. And do you think, just to push that idea a bit further, do you think that could be an explanation for why Hurley is so genre aware across the entire show?
I think so.
He is able to give those justifications to himself. Because, like, if you look at it, quote unquote fantastical things, again, using the fantastic as like horrors that are unexplained, which is another thing that is done in media, have been happening to him for years before the island. So he has this sort of awareness, almost in a way that we say that like Saeed is the most prepared to be on the island because he knows about like survival stuff and technology. Hurley is the most prepared to be on the island because he's been having all these experiences before going to a magic island. So he knows how it works. He almost understands the rules of the world before he's been put into it.
I think that's right, not only through his lived experience, but also through being a fan of sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's very much like, I know we didn't watch much of it, but Community, we only watched like the first season or whatever. But Abed, I think his name
is like really obsessed with like
movies and TV shows. And so whenever some kind of trope happens, he comments on it because he sort of recognises in a way that he's in a sitcom.
Yeah. Because he's kind of aware because he knows those pans.
He recognises the pans, and I think that's partially what Hurley is as well. And again, it's a tool for the audience, right? Like Abed is a tool for the audience to sort of
and he's
a nod, a wink to kind of make us
funny.
laugh.
You know, he's like a fan favourite as a character because he's funny, because we all go, he's saying what the audience are thinking. But and it's the same with Hurley.
Same with Hurley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also noticed as well in I don't know if it happened every time, but it definitely happened one time. Dave reappeared when Hurley started eating. I think it was when he picked up the crackers.
Yeah.
And it was like he didn't actually reappear until Hurley, like, I don't want to say gave in, but like, do you know what I mean? Like he went to that behaviour and then Dave comes back, and I think that's really cleverly done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the slipper, right? Because I think we need to dedicate some time specifically to the slipper.
We need to dedicate a Lostpedia page, if you will.
Yeah,
to
so
Shoe.
I think we've mentioned the Wikipedia page for Shoe
We have
before,
indeed.
because it's the shoe that Jack walks past in the bamboo forest.
Yeah.
Is listed on Shoe, and then this slipper is also listed on Shoe, and there's a couple of others. And yeah, so this is a really interesting specific detail to me about Hurley interacting with the physical world of his hallucinations as if it's a real thing, because like, yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's like you can't explain that. Like Dave's shoe came off and Hurley's holding it, but similarly to how you notice the doctor doesn't look at Dave, Libby does not look at the shoe at all when she goes and sits next to him. She's just looking at Hurley and she's like, hey, what are you doing? And like, if you look at the dialogue, it's like, it's almost like an ignoring the elephant in the room thing, because it's like, if I was trying to talk to someone who was clearly in a bad mood and they were holding a slipper, I'd be like, what's with the slipper?
Yeah.
You know? But she doesn't ask about it because he's not holding it, because she can't see it.
But does Hurley or the audience think she's trying not to, like,
mention it?
Yes, because she's worried about the way that he might react.
Yeah.
Very clever.
And also the slipper, it does kind of magically reappear when in that scene where Dave is being like, oh, and the hatch and whatever, and he's like, do you have my slipper? And Hurley just like pulls it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, where did he...
Was that in his backpack? If so, why did he pack it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was in his backpack. To me, it looked like he just picked it up out of the grass. And I was like, that is immediately, because I'm like, yeah, because where did he get the slipper from? You know, he just puts it down on the sand. We don't see it again, and then he just has it again. Yeah. It's like, it's almost like he's gone into like a video game inventory. God, Dave's slipper.
Yeah.
Here you go.
And weirdly, a similar thing happens in the flashbacks with the keys.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know.
You picked up the keys, right? You stole them from him, and he's like,
I did
magical
steal them from him.
And that's like, because...
But that one's a weird one, because he does actually take the keys, doesn't he?
He did take the keys, but it's like, because it raises those questions, because it's like, it was Dave's plan to escape.
Yeah.
It wasn't Hurley's plan to escape. Hurley wasn't planning to escape. Why would he have taken the keys? Dave would have taken the keys. Dave would go, I've got the keys.
Yeah.
And when he says that, you took the keys, right? It's like they planned it in advance, but they didn't. And so it's like, it's just that, it's like a massive inconsistency in that story that's like, it's Hurley's subconscious that was planning to try and escape, that has then, as a result, taken the keys and then really not really thought about it.
Yeah. I think that's the explanation. Because he did actually unlock the window. Unless we think he didn't unlock the window.
I think he did. I think he did unlock the window because I think it's important that he chooses to shut the window again. I think if the explanation is that he never even unlocked the window, it kind of cheapens that choice to like reject Dave massively. I mean, that's a great moment in the show and in the audio commentary, because it's when they say, because already it's a funny line when Hurley's like, you want me to eat cheeseburgers because I want cheeseburgers. And it's like, that is funny because it's like Hurley acknowledging that like base desire that's like on top of the thing. But in the audio commentary they go like, and now the American audience can relate to this because they also want cheeseburgers. And it's like trying to explain psychosis to an American. Imagine a burger.
Low-key what the show says.
Imagine a burger. Imagine if you really wanted a burger. But then the other thing, it's like, I was really laughing about that in the audio commentary, and then after that it really hit me, because then they suddenly said, like, they were like, with Dave, I think it was Jack Bender, he said, like, because there's always that part of you that's telling you you're fine, and you don't need to change. And I was like, yeah, that's it, you know? Dave is like, he's real in the sense that Hurley is actually seeing him, but I think he's such a perfect metaphor for, like, recovery, of just being like, there's always that part of you that's just like, but I don't want to. I want to just do this. It's more work to actually try and change.
Or feeling like you can't, I guess, maybe.
Or feeling like there's no point in even trying because I'm gonna, you know, at the end of the day I still want a cheeseburger or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's actually, yeah, quite beautiful, even though it is a bit of a flippant line, you know.
Yeah.
Because it is, as Hurley says, it's a breakthrough.
Yeah. And it's that, and the fact that he has that realization and then shuts the window is that's like the most important kind of moment to me. They also said, now I need to, this is something I also forgot to Google, I'm going to Google it now, but what Dave says, you're here in your own private Idaho on the island. And now my only understanding of the phrase my own private Idaho is the movie. And I realised it must be a phrase.
What's the movie?
The movie is an adaptation of like Henry the Fourth.
Is that gay Keanu Reeves?
Gay Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So it's Keanu Reeves and Kiefer Sutherland. I think it's Kiefer Sutherland. And they're like, he's like Henry V, except it's like modern America, and they're like
male escorts,
gay prostitutes. Yeah, they're like, there's this whole sequence where they're on the cover of like porn magazines, and they're like, it's like Kiefer Sutherland's character is in love with Keanu Reeves' character, but Keanu Reeves' character is like only doing gay stuff because he's getting paid for it. And then there's this really weird scene where they're like cars broken down and they're on the side of the road, and Kiefer Sutherland is like, what if we were gay but like no one was paying us to do it? And Keanu Reeves is like, wouldn't that be crazy? Anyway, I'm going to sleep. And it's like, so it's a great movie. That's a real bastardization of it. Like, it's genuinely a really good movie, but that is like it's such a crazy scene.
Yeah. So that doesn't really explain the phrase my own private Idaho.
No. My own private Idaho refers to an imaginary internal safe haven, a personal Idaho, representing a desperate longing for love, home, and stability for Mike, a narcoleptic street hustler. That's Kiefer Sutherland, I think.
He's narcoleptic?
Yeah, I don't really remember that coming up in the movie. The film's title is derived from the song Private Idaho by the B-52s.
What? Twist.
What? Okay, hold on. Lyrics.
We were at the beach.
Everybody.
In my own private Idaho.
You're living in your own private Idaho.
Oh.
You're living in your own private Idaho, underground like a wild potato.
This is such a B-52 song.
Don't go on the patio. Beware of the pool, blue bottomless pool. It leads you straight right through the gate that opens on the pool. Watch out for the signs that say hidden driveways. Don't let the chlorine in your eyes blind you to the awful surprise that awaits for you at the bottom of the bottom.
Whoa, it got really dark for some reason. What the fuck is happening?
You're living in your own private Idaho. You're out of control of the rivers that roll. You fell into the water and down to Idaho. Get out of the state you're in. You better beware. Keep off the patio, keep off the path. The lawn may be green, but you better not be seen. Walking through the gate that leads you down to a pool fraught with danger. It's a pool full of strangers.
Oh, okay, they ate with that one.
Where do I go from here to a better state than this? Well, don't be blind to the big surprise. Swimming round and round like the deadly hand of a radium clock at the bottom of the pool.
What the fuck is happening? A radium clock?
Idaho. Whoa. Get out of the state. Get out of the state. You're living in your own private Idaho. Living in your own private Idaho.
Wow. We need to listen to this song.
So I guess the line is a reference to the film.
No, it said the film title was derived from the song.
No, I mean the line in Lost.
Oh, right. Or it could be a reference to the song.
Must be referencing.
But that makes it sound like the Idaho is not like the perfect place. It's actually like a scary place.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the idea of like a perfect picket fence life, but actually you're trapped in it because you're not happy.
Mm. Or if we're thinking about Lost, it's not real.
It's not real, yeah. It's all an illusion. And I guess jumping into the bottom of the pool and the chlorine and like swimming around kind of linking to like when he's going to jump off the cliff into the sea.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What a rabbit hole we've gone down.
Oh, it's River Phoenix, not Kiefer Sutherland. Sorry.
Instead of rock lobster, it's rubber coconut. Everybody had matching rubber coconuts. It's considered a landmark film in new queer cinema. I mean, it's great. No, I would definitely recommend it. Oh no, Keanu Reeves is the narcoleptic one. He says, isn't that crazy? I'm going to sleep, that's why.
Of course.
Okay, let's make a deal. I'll watch My Own Private Idaho if you watch E.T.
Okay. We'll do it. We'll report back next week. So yeah, but like, I guess it's that, yeah. Living in your own, like, made-up world where everything could be explained, but nothing could be explained because everything is explained by, like, magic.
And then just imagine that with a disco beat underneath.
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo. Nothing can be explained. Clawing at the radium clock.
And now,
rock lobster!
And now something else that I really want to highlight, and then maybe we'll talk about the other plot lines of the episode.
Sure.
But the last thing I want to say about Dave, definitely not the last thing, but the last thing for now, is what he says right before he jumps off the cliff. See you in another life, Hurley.
See you in another life, Hurley.
Wow. Now this raises many questions. Because, first of all, obviously...
Well, I can explain that. They had a rubber coconut.
Firstly, we have the obvious connection to Desmond.
Yes.
See you in another life, brother. Now, this begs the question, was Desmond real? Links into the idea that Henry floats this episode of not entering the numbers, and is it actually necessary? Now, the difference here is that obviously multiple people saw Desmond and physically interacted with Desmond, and he physically interacts with the environment a lot. So he's, I imagine, not a hallucination.
Touch wood.
But...
That's subject to change, but...
It draws that interesting connection there, right?
And also, like, I don't know if Hurley ever heard... First of all, did Hurley meet Desmond?
Don't think so.
So he couldn't have heard him say, see you in another life.
I think the first time you see Hurley in the hatch is in Everybody Hates Hugo.
Yes, because they bring him in because Kate goes to the beach to get Saeed because the computer's broken.
Yes.
And Desmond's fucked off.
Yeah.
And that's when Hurley comes into the hatch. So yeah, he's never met
Desmond, so he didn't hear him say that.
How on earth did he say, see you in another life, Hurley? How, unless it was just a coincidence. But that feels crazy for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
But also, and now I'm not sure if this is correct, but as far as I could tell, everyone in the flashbacks was calling Hurley Hugo.
Yes.
Which made me think, oh, I think he got the nickname Hurley after these set of flashbacks, maybe. But more importantly, why does he then say Hurley at this point?
Did Dave give him the nickname?
Interesting. That would be a big twist.
Because this is something that, like, it's never quite clear where Hurley comes from as a nickname.
No,
right?
I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it's never really explained. And no one ever thinks of it as an unanswered question, because I guess it really doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But it is to me, like, you know, every Locke flashback, we're like, ooh, is this going to be the one where we find out how he ended up in the wheelchair? And part of me was like, is this the one where we're going to find out why he's called Hurley?
Yeah.
And we never do.
I mean, the thing to be said is that I think the only people that speak to him directly, well, it's the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Who calls him Hugo. And now it could be that he had the nickname Hurley, but that he calls him Hugo because that's, like, his legal name and that's on his forms and stuff. And we know, like, you know, his mum always calls him Hugo.
Yeah.
Even though his friends call him Hurley. But yeah, I had always, and I don't know where I got this from, maybe I got it from this episode, I had always assumed that Hurley was a nickname he got given when he was in the hospital, and that's why he never wants to tell anyone where he got it from.
Ah, I guess that would make sense. I mean, I think regardless, there's probably something related to, because hurling is obviously vomiting, so related to food perhaps and his eating disorder, so maybe there's like a shame and a kind of self-loathing and stuff around it in a weird way, or something for him. I don't know.
I mean, hurl is also like throwing.
Yeah.
So it could be, and there's the kind of adage, I mean, this is a bit of a stretch, but the kind of adage of like throwing your weight around.
Oh, this is like Cockney rhyming slang now.
Yeah.
So it's calling him fat, but saying like, you're
via three steps of connection.
Okay.
It's got literary references.
Right, okay. Apples and pears, and then okay.
But I think it would be really interesting if it was that Dave gave him the nickname.
Yeah.
Because also that kind of, like, in a way that's kind of funny, because it's like, do you ever do that thing at school where you were like, I want a nickname? So you started, like, telling people to call you something.
I feel like people do this in TV, but I never did that. Maybe it's because I've got such a unique
Our names
name
are too weird. Yeah.
that I really like, so I never wanted a nickname.
I never really did it either, but I had friends who would be like, I've decided everyone's going to call me Jazzy from now on. And then it'd stick for like a day, and then we'd all go back to calling her Isabel or whatever her name was.
Yeah. It's a very 12-year-old thing to do.
Yeah. And like, that in a way, it's the kind of, if Dave's given him the nickname, it's the Hurley's gone, I want everyone to call me Hurley now. Mm-hmm. Which would be very fun. But it does kind of beg the question, how would it spread if it's just Dave who calls him it? Because Hurley would have to start telling people, you can call me Hurley, for it to work. So maybe it doesn't quite work, but it would be really cool. It would be really interesting if that was where the nickname came from. But the other thing about See You in Another Life Hurley that I picked up on is the further link that I think I mentioned with Desmond to Nadia and what she wrote in the letter, which was, I'll find you in the next life, if not in this one. And I think it just kind of links things together of like, things will come back to find you. And like, whether that's people or, you know, important moments in your life. I mean, like those if you think of those three moments, like the moment where Saeed shoots himself in the foot to help Nadia escape. Arm. Is it arm?
Yeah.
Okay.
He may shoot himself in the foot metaphorically, but that's up for debate.
The moment where Jack speaks to Desmond in the stadium and then discovers that he's fixed Sarah, and the moment where Hurley closes the door on Dave and decides to like start his journey to recovery, those are all incredibly crucial turning points in all of those people's lives. Yeah. Maybe the most important thing that's happened to each of them.
Yeah.
You know, especially in what we know about their lives and how it's affecting them now. So that kind of idea of like, things will come back to haunt you, and things will come back and find you again, and whether that's in a good way or a bad way, but like everything returns, it all comes back around.
Been a while since we've referred to her.
And I think that like is a really interesting thing to raise, you know?
Absolutely.
Especially in the sense of like, the other two are quite sweet moments, right? Like, or at least like, it's a positive thing. But this is like very much like a very negative take on I'll see you in another life. It's like, I'll see you again.
Brackets threatening.
Brackets, you can't get rid of me, you will never be able to recover. but will he, you know?
And the other life being very interesting when you're thinking
Another
about...
life. They're dead the whole time.
Exactly.
Their
What's
new
real,
life
what isn't.
on the island.
Yeah.
And I mean, see you in another life, very much what they're going for with Desmond and Jack, I think, is that, you know, they're in a whole nother life and their entire lives have changed. And, you know, when Desmond says, like, the world is still out there, but they've managed to find see each other again. Very much feels like what they're going for with that. You said about every John episode we're going, is this when we're going to find out how he was in the wheelchair?
Yeah.
We learnt from Jorge Garcia in the audio commentary that apparently there was a theory kicking around back in the day that John was one of the people on the deck that Hurley collapsed, and that's how he ended up in the wheelchair.
That would have been such an interesting crossover.
That would have been really cool. Hey, that's maybe a nice segue into talking about John.
Yeah.
Because we have John, his legs are out of capacity this episode, so we had a very forceful no to using a wheelchair again, which made me realise still nobody knows that John was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
The only person he told was Boone. And Boone immediately died, like 2 scenes later.
There was a Boone lookalike in the extras today. Did you notice him?
That guy looks so much like Boone. I was like, did they bring in all those extras so that when Dave appears, it's not immediately weird?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's like, it could have easily just been named characters going through the stuff. I mean, I did like that they were all there. Like, they were like, I saw people like passing stuff to each other. I was like, oh, there's friends and they're extras.
Yeah.
The guy with the rash was there.
Rash guy was there! He's still alive! He's still kicking!
Rash wasn't anything serious.
It was not.
There was also like a really old guy that I saw in one shot and I was like, who is he?
It's really interesting when you think about it from a meta perspective because, like, obviously Hurley's talked about the loop, hasn't he? But, like, you know, there's no reason that Jin and Sun wouldn't be friends with Beth, the pointing lady.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why is it that only these people interact with each other? What's going on with the extras?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it would be great to do a Lost remake where everything's exactly the same, it's just from the point of view of the background characters.
I'd love that.
And it's like they've got their whole own thing going on.
And you just, like, splice in footage of, like,
From the original show, yeah.
like, but from different perspectives or something. Get, like, lookalikes with the backs of their heads to stand there like this, having conversation.
So conveniently they have some crutches for John.
Very convenient. Oh, and you just so happen to have crutches.
Can you imagine if David gone, you just have crutches for the guy who used to be in a wheelchair, and Hurley was like, what?
What?
The who? So they have some crutches for John, but I think this is an interesting foil to give John, because it's like, it's going to be a couple weeks, you know, that he has to be on the crutches for, and that his leg is broken, and it's like he's never going to walk again.
It's fractured, actually.
Fractured.
Jack's best
hairline fracture.
I did like that, how he holding up. It depends on Jack's best guess.
It's very funny. I liked when Jack, like, pulled on John's leg and he just, like, panics and puts his hand against the top of the bunk bed, because I was like, that's so real.
That's so real.
I love when characters do that in TV, because, like, that is, like, the reaction to anything surprising, is just grab hold of something.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's like he just puts his hand against the top of the bunk bed and then takes a couple deep breaths and then just puts it down again. He's like, okay, I'm normal now. Yeah, so what's going on with the hatch, guys?
Hey, now, obviously we've talked about this actor, Michael Emerson, being really good in the previous episodes. However, I think this episode is where he truly comes into his own.
Okay, I tensed then. I thought you were going to be like, I thought this was a bad episode.
No.
And I was like, what are you talking about?
I genuinely think the performance that he gives in this episode is Oscar-worthy.
Stunning. It's so good.
So good.
First of all, he's changed Jesus style across the armory.
Now, I mean, maybe Jesus is supposed to be the imagery there. But for me, it really made me laugh because I was just like, they've taken it to such an extreme. Like, they've fully spread-eagled him, do you know what I mean? Like, it was more giving James Bond trapped to a thing where a laser's gonna burn off his dick, you know?
Is that really necessary?
Yeah. But it is, because they're so afraid of the others, and now they've got one. They've got him tied up, captive, and he can't do anything apart from spread doubt through his evil, conniving words.
Yeah. And it's so clever the way it starts out with he changes his story again. So he gives us this alternative story.
The way he's immediately found out. First of all, the detective crew.
Yeah.
It's like good cop, bad cop, but it's bad cop, worse cop.
And it's like, who's worse? We don't know.
We don't know.
Like, the way that so he presents us with this story where he discovered the body of Henry Gale. And I love this moment where Ana Lucia goes to ask a question. Saeed just raised his hand up and goes, go on. And he's like, he was already dead, was he? Should have checked his wallet. I'm like, why do you have his wallet?
Because that's where he got the ID. That's how he knows it's Henry Gale.
I know, but it's just in his pocket. It's
genius.
I love Saeed.
I love Saeed so much. He's so cool in this episode.
He's just, it's like effortlessly just like, I know, like, it's like Saeed has all the power back, you know? Because he's caught Henry inexplicably in a lie.
Twice now.
And that's when Henry, well, I was going to say just starts telling the truth. Does he?
Or does he?
I really like, understand this.
Pulls out a gun. Brilliant.
Now what do you think about this? I thought that this moment was really interesting because to me it very heavily paralleled the moment in season 1 where Shannon is trying to shoot John and Saeed tackles her.
I didn't think about that.
Because in both occasions they actually fire. And it's like they would have just killed him. And Ana Lucia has to like shove Saeed out of the way, otherwise he would just kill Henry.
Which is really interesting because it's like in that episode, Saeed stops Shannon because he's like, I know what it feels like to take a life and that will stay with you, and like basically you don't want to have that on your conscience and you don't want to become a killer. But
that's out the window.
Shannon is like so caught up in her need for revenge around Boone that she can't see that.
But then...
And now it's flipped because he wants to get revenge for Shannon, really, doesn't he?
And even further so, Ana Lucia killed Shannon because she thought she was an other and shot without thinking, and Saeed is about to shoot Henry because he's convinced that he's an other, and Ana Lucia is the one going, I know what it's like to have that on your conscience.
Oh my god!
Don't kill him.
I didn't even... Weirdly, I completely forgot that Ana Lucia was the one who killed Shannon.
It really does go out of my head quite often.
It's because we're like, Ana Lucia never did anything wrong. We love Ana Lucia. It's like, no, she did do that. She did do that.
And I think that for someone as violent and impulsive as Ana Lucia, who has killed Goodwin, who has killed Shannon, who killed the other... She killed like some other others, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for someone like, for her to be the one who goes, don't do this. Yeah. You need to calm down.
So, that's so important,
powerful.
Actually.
So
that's
powerful.
So important. And Henry's like, thank you. She's like, shut up. This isn't about you, quite frankly.
This is about our own thing. We've got our own thing going on.
But I thought his reaction to the interrogation this time around was really interesting. Because, like, he's been interrogated so much whilst he was under the character of Henry Gale. And he's, like, you know, giving out all of this information about Henry Gale's life. He lives in Minnesota, you know, he does the mining company, blah, 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 blah. And he's kind of just bored of it and like, what's the point? You're going to kill me anyway. And he's got this kind of apathetic nature about him, which I think is to kind of appeal to their humanity in a way, to be like, look, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And it's his birthday. But now, when he's being interrogated, he's got a new... Now, whether it's a new tactic or whether this is real, he's so terrified.
It's a sort of desperation to
Yes. It. Like, I wrote down a lot of snippets of everything that he said. He's like, I'm nothing, I'm just a little nobody. Like, it wasn't me, I wasn't the one who killed him.
Yeah.
Him being Henry Gale.
The fact that that's the first thing he says, is it? Like, I wasn't the one who killed him. Saying, you have no idea what he'll do.
Yes, that's interesting.
I can't tell you, you have no idea what he'll do. So we have this idea, someone who's in charge.
A chain of command. And also not the bearded guy.
Yeah.
Because Ana Lucia goes...
He's no one. Nothing.
He's a nothing. He ate that line. He'll kill me. I'll kill you. That was incredible. I was literally obsessed with that exchange.
Such an insane scene.
Yeah.
It's like 4 minutes long.
And it's incredible.
And
but also he says, like, I'm not a bad person, right
Yeah.
before Saeed shoots, I think. And it's like, that's interesting, because that's basically the show, isn't it? Who is a bad person? Is there such a thing as a bad person?
like a good person in a bad situation, you know, a person who's forced to do bad things and all of that. What is a bad thing? When is it deserved? When is it whatever?
Yeah.
That's like the dilemma.
Yeah. And as much as that is a really serious point, and definitely very serious in this context, there was a slight moment when it was a little bit funny this week, because we were listening to the audio commentary, and Saeed made his racist joke. Sawyer made a racist joke in the middle of the episode about Saeed. And in the audio commentary, they were kind of laughing about it, but going like, "Oh, that's so racist."
They
that
said
line is so racist.
one of the great racist lines was what he said. I wrote that down. Then we had a follow up of, "I laughed out loud when I read that in the script," and I was like, so confusing and a very odd reaction. And he was like going, "Oh, it offended so many people, haha, whatever." But the thing that really got me is that they were kind of talking about this line really flippantly, and then Jack Bender got really serious and went, "No, but that is what is so good about our characters, because, you know, none of them are perfect." I was like, what? And I was like, yes,
we did write a racist character.
but nobody's perfect.
Anyway, moving on. I was like, oh, okay. And like, I'm glad that they don't go, that's not racist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
like,
mean?
This is the thing, is like, also, like, as you know, we were very skeptical about the audio commentary, and at the beginning, there was like a disclaimer that was like, the views of the people that speak in this don't reflect the show. And I think that's like just classic, like, that is just to be like... Standard. But it was like, it came up and I just went, oh no. Because it reminded me of, like, you know, when you go on BBC iPlayer and you click on like an old show, and it'll be like, there's some stuff in this that the BBC now doesn't agree with, and it's like...
Yeah.
racist jokes and stuff, and I just went, oh god. And so, like, when we got to that line, I was like, oh, he's gonna say something awful. But he did. I mean, he acknowledged that it was a racist line.
Yes. And I think it is important to Sawyer's character that he does have these prejudices.
Yeah, I think so.
And, like, that they don't shy away from that, being like, this is a bad aspect of his character. It's just the way it was like so sort of like flippantly addressed in this moment.
Yeah, but like, oh, he's so racist, isn't it funny? But that's the great thing about our characters. It's like, no, but it's not funny at the end of the day.
No, at the end of the day, it's not funny, is it? It's serious. That's
like,
what it felt like. Anyway, let's talk more about Henry.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that scene, the best moment to me in the whole scene, is right at the end. Anna Lucia drags, say, I think Jack comes in and they're like, get him out of here. And when they shut the door again, we get this moment where Henry is alone and he's still chained up, and this like relief comes over his face, and he kind of exhales and throws his head back, and then it cuts back to like whatever the next scene is. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it's like every single other time we've seen him alone in the like, you know, cell, it's been like he's listening, he's paying attention. You know, when we hear John smash all the plates everywhere, he's like listening in, and like, you know, he's commenting on what they're saying and stuff, and it seems a lot more comfortable. And this is a moment where he's like, thank God they're gone. And I think that's like really important to notice, that it's like, whether he's lying or telling the truth or whatever is the truth at this point in time, he's cracking. Like, there's this moment where he's like, oh god, they're gonna... Also, like, he did straight up point a gun at him and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, thank god.
Yeah. Really, really interesting. So let's talk about my favourite line from Henry in this episode, and
maybe ever.
One of his... definitely, he has some very good lines. I think it's definitely up there in top 5. God doesn't know. Oh!
God doesn't know. He can't see this island.
No more than the rest of the world. 8. He actually ate that. Like, that was so good. Because you really don't recognise it when John says, like, God knows how long. It's just such a... It's a turn of phrase. It's nothing. It doesn't really mean anything. And then for him to drill down on that and go, God doesn't know.
And it's like, yeah, it's culty. It almost feels like this is like a rhetoric the others believe. It's like...
I don't think that at all.
The children are in a better place now.
I don't think that at all. No, I don't think it's culty at all. I think it's him actually rejecting that kind of they're in a better place now sentiment. It's him going, this is a lawless land, this is a godless land. He's so, it's a moment of, whether it's put on or real, it's a low point in his arc where he's sort of a bit hopeless and thinks, I'm probably going to be dead very soon. And he goes, there is no God here. There's no mercy here.
I guess so. I mean, I definitely see that interpretation. I guess I just read it more as like, like, this is how it's supposed to be. God doesn't, we exist outside of God. We've transcended. God doesn't know. God can't see us here. We can do whatever we want.
I didn't read it like that at all. I think it's a much more of a despair tone to it.
Really? I thought there was a lot of power in it. Because, like, it's the fact that, like, it's also like, I guess, I mean, what it's saying is there is no help, There's no help coming. There's no...
divine intervention.
And I guess it's whether you see Henry as in he wants the divine intervention or if he's telling John no one's coming to help you. I guess that's the two different ways.
You won't be.
I was reading it much as like, God's not coming to help you.
I was more reading it as like, I'm not gonna be fine. Help. Let me go, please.
Please. I wonder if I should answer really nicely. But what we have is a very interesting concept presented by Henry in this scene. First of all, I like when he's like, what's your real name? And he's like, you could just keep calling me Henry. I like it.
I've gotten used to it, he says. Now, this is where I'm like, he must still be lying. Mustn't he? Because if he had nothing to hide, why wouldn't he just tell him what his name is?
Imagine if it was Henry. But it just it's just not Gale. It's like Henry,
Yeah. But then it's like, no, he still does have stuff to hide because he's still not giving up the others as secrets.
Yeah.
Because he says...
can't, because you have no idea what he'll do.
Exactly.
And we get this, is he lying? Is he telling the truth? That he never entered the numbers.
I never pushed the button.
Some funny red pictures came up. They look like hieroglyphics, but I'm no expert.
No, I didn't like that part. I was like, we all know the hieroglyphics, okay? Funny red pictures.
But I do think it's important that he highlights that they're red, because it's like he definitely saw them.
Yes. No, I do appreciate that. It's like everything that we as an audience saw, and also John saw, he saw, but then he saw one step further, or at least he's telling us he saw one step further.
Like a scary, loud crash. And then it all just reset.
Something that sounded like a big magnet. Now that's interesting because obviously in the video they talk about the electromagnetic.
My best guess, big magnet.
My best guess, big magnet. Oh my god, we said that, didn't we? Yes. They talk about the electromagnetic sort of incident or build up or something.
And like we've had the key, being pulled towards the core and like Desmond's fillings and stuff.
Yes. So is there a magnet or isn't there? And if they're just trying to fake out that there's a magnet, is there some kind of magnet that's used to fake that there's a big magnet?
A big magnet that resets the timer.
Is underneath the big magnet a second smaller magnet?
Big magnet the size of a big magnet.
Yeah, like that's not world ending, but is a magnet.
But it is a big magnet. But that is, in a way, it's like with Libby and Hurley where she's saying you don't know the name of the guy with the broken leg. It's like these are details that Henry does not know because John hasn't told them to him and none of the others have told them to him. So things like there's a big magnet, things like there's hieroglyphics that come up when the thing goes off are things he would not know unless he had experienced them.
Yeah.
So either it's one of two options the way I see it. Either he's telling the truth, he didn't enter the numbers. Well, I guess there's three options. He didn't enter the numbers, he's telling the complete truth. That, or he did what happened to John, where it wasn't entered until the last second, and then they swore and it fixed itself. Or he is one of the others, and they know about the hatch in enough details that he knew how to lie to him. Because they say, John says, doesn't he, maybe you were trying to find this place, and he's like, fuck this place.
This is a joke. Amazing. Also, if you heard that noise just then, that was the big magnet turning on.
That was the big magnet, don't worry about it. Yeah. Like, it's...
Yeah. I think it's got to be one of those three options, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's really interesting that there is no way of us knowing which one it is.
But, like, in one of those options, he is done lying. In the other two, he is still fucking with John.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And I also think there's very much a world where he's telling the truth and also fucking with John.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, why would he tell him this now? You know?
Well, I guess he's trying to keep himself alive. Like, he's got information. Do you know what I mean?
But, like, if, you know, the Henry Gale that we knew from lockdown before we found out he was lying, who looks after John and who had brought him that bowl of water when he was trapped under the blast doors, that Henry Gale would come running up to him and would go, I didn't put in the code, but it just reset itself.
That's true. But
true. I don't know, are you okay? The doors went up, I didn't do anything. Like, he says he didn't do anything to reset the doors. Would he not have just gone, I didn't even enter the code, I got to the computer and it just reset itself?
Yeah.
He didn't tell him.
Yeah.
Until now. Until this important moment where, crucially, Saeed has already tried to shoot him in the face.
Yes.
So it's like, he...
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to be like, I have information, John, that you might want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And that when he says, I don't remember what it is John says to him first, but he says, I'm done lying. And I was like, no the fuck. First of all, what's your name?
Yeah.
Just a nothing burger line, that. I'm done lying. Wink. And I'm like, come on. We know you're still lying because we don't know what your name is.
Yeah. For a long time, he will lie. What if he's still lying?
At what point what will it take to get him to tell the truth?
Yeah.
If physically shooting a gun at him and he's still lying, is there any way to get him to tell the truth? Will we ever find out who he really is? Oh,
so interesting. So interesting and so beautifully acted by Michael Emerson. In fact, randomly in the audio commentary, Cynthia mentioned that she went to dinner with him.
Yeah.
And said, like, you know, he's lovely, he's a really great theatre actor. And I was like, yes, I can see that. I can see
he's
that
got
he's
like
a
a subtlety
actor.
That's very good for theatre, I think.
I think he's got a kind of gravitas in the way that he speaks. Not that, like, people in TV and movies don't have gravitas, but, like, I think there's a certain quality of voice and delivery, and this kind of bit, like, we've already seen the You Guys Got Any Milk monologue, him do really well in that kind of more sinister one, but this one is a different kind of sinister, because it's like a pretense of honesty.
Yeah. And it's something I've found often, actually, like, where I'll watch, like, a TV show or something, and I'll be like, these are all really good actors. How come I've never seen them in anything? And then I'll kind of do some research and find that they have this, like, history of a theatre career, and that they've, like, then just broken into, like, TV. And often it's the ones where I'm like, wow, they're so incredible, that I'm like, oh, they're theatre actors. Maybe it's just because I love theatre so much that I'm like, I love theatre actors.
Yes.
So I notice it, you know? But absolutely, I agree. I think he has the power to command the screen in a way that comes from, like, being able to command a stage, you know?
Definitely.
Speaking of gravitas, guess who's back this episode? Echo.
Oh, yes. He's been gone for a while, hasn't he?
So where did Echo go? Echo's been off, it seems, sawing wood for, like, 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think so. He's doing his own thing. He's just shirtless in the woods.
He's locked
sawing
in,
wood.
and it's kind of
he
like,
is locked in.
In a way, it's like kind of maybe what we imagined Anna Lucia was going to be doing. Like, because she's the one who's, like, isolated from the group because they don't like her because she killed Shannon. You would think she'd be, like, going off on her own, doing her own thing.
Yeah.
But actually, she's actually begun to integrate. but Echo has just gone, hi guys, anyway.
Well, I think the 23rd Psalm changed everything for Echo, didn't it? Like, he was very happy to integrate with the group, and then he realised he needed to go on his own kind of spiritual journey, almost.
He's on a divine path.
Yeah. I mean, how does he feel about God doesn't know?
God doesn't know.
Does he think God knows?
Oh, doesn't
the
he?
island? Slams the evidence on the table in front of Henry.
Explain this.
Yeah, what
presents the body of Echo. Of Yemi.
Yemi. What about long before Christ and the book in 2 parts and
The
the
Bible.
and the tape and all of that?
I love that scene. I do love that scene. I think just like the fact that Charlie pulls up with this. Where did he get that power? Is it from the
No.
food?
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
And the fact that instead of going over and being like, "Hey, do you want some crackers?" He's like, "Do you need this?"
I know who would like a big plank of
I know
wood.
what we're gonna do with this pallet. Let's give it to the guy who's been cutting trees down for the last week.
Yeah.
And I think it's it's really sweet, I think, also that scene, because it's like, there's not like a, like, Charlie obviously is in a difficult place right now with his character, and especially with, like, his kind of religious background.
Yeah.
Because it was all about baptizing Aaron and stuff. And he doesn't go to Echo and go, like, I'm so sorry for everything, let me explain. He's just like, do you need this pallet? And then Echo's like, thanks, do you want to help me hold this? And there's no, like, by the way,
Yeah.
I forgive you, or anything like that, you know?
But I do think it's interesting. It seems like Charlie has made a choice that has put him on a slightly different path because, and this may just have been because of the food, right? Because, like, that's a huge thing, and it's like, pause, let's talk about this now. Where the hell did this come from? And now there's loads of food and all of this stuff. But, like, last time we saw him, he was off with Saeed and Ana Lucia, trekking out into the jungle to find the balloon and to dig up the grave.
And they come back together.
And they come back together.
At the
but
pallet.
he's not there in the interrogation scene, like, with his arms folded in the background, smirking with his hood up or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like he's making a conscious decision
to, like, take a step back.
to maybe get back to I've been calling him, like, he's in his evil arc. Perhaps he's more turning towards the good arc. This is all in inverted commas and very...
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And, like, I like the little throwaway line he had where he's also, like, pretending to discover it for the first time in that scene with the pallet. That I was a bit like, what's that? Like, where Charlie, when they're all, like, going through the thing, and they're like, where did this come from? And Charlie goes, like, John said that the blast doors trapped them in the hatch. Maybe it was because of this. And I'm like, I think that's a line for the audience to be like, in case you didn't figure out why the lockdown happened.
Yeah.
But also it's like, you know it's there, Charlie.
No, but I thought he was saying that because he's clearly gone and spoken to John. No one else has done that. Because think about last episode, John's bedridden. Yeah. John is in the hatch with the broken leg, with the impaled leg. And Charlie's been there because they've been so I dug up that graving. And he goes, oh, by the way, John, there's loads of food outside. And John's like, I don't have time to deal with this right now. Do you know what? I don't fucking have time for this.
Not now, Moth. I'm busy.
Yeah. Silence, Charlie. Broken leg, you'll speak. And so then Charlie has gone, okay, bye, I'm gonna go tell everyone about the food, because crucially, how else did everyone else find out about the food?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of it all is a bit dodgy.
Yeah, why is it daylight now?
It's at night time when they find it, and we were like, why is it already night time?
Yeah.
How long were they in the lockdown? Now it's like, now it's morning.
Yeah.
And they're only just going and getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all a bit... Maybe
I guess
Charlie,
they have to sleep at some point.
Maybe Charlie went back to camp and then forgot to tell anyone and fell asleep. And then he
like,
woke up and was like,
so
shit, yeah, guys.
Or maybe everyone was asleep and he didn't want to be like, listen up, because they all hate him at the moment.
They're all going to be like, you've set a fire.
You've woken me up. Yeah, you've probably done something awful.
I guess, yeah, I mean, you don't wake everyone up in the middle of the night unless something more serious has happened than some food. Like, I guess he's like, it'll stay there till the morning and it's fine. But I did think the timing of it was a bit weird.
But yeah, we're having to fill in these gaps, crucially.
It seemed like he was discovering it for the first time, and I was a bit like... Now, the one thing about the scene with Echo and Charlie, and now forgive me if this is a really stupid question, but did we have Starbucks in the UK back then?
It's a very good point. I feel like it's more recent.
Because I'd never seen a Starbucks until I was about 15. And maybe that's just because we lived in a smaller town before then, so we didn't see them. But like, okay, first Starbucks opened in UK in London in 1998.
Okay,
so
fine.
they were there.
Fine. We withdraw our complaint to the Lost Writers, that specific complaint. We still have many others to log.
I still have lots of other complaints. And I was also like, I guess like if he's been like touring with the band,
he's been on the drive across America.
He might be like, oh, I just love America. I love the Starbucks there. Like that's the kind of shit he would say.
Oh my god, if he was like, if Drive Shaft were like popular now, they would be doing like Wired interviews and like all of those stuff, like the one where they play with the puppies and that, and he would be going,
oh my
you know, I love America, I love American culture, I love all your big coffees.
Charlie and Liam do a puppy interview.
Oh my god.
And they start being like, Mum never let us get a dog, as like, and that's like gets clipped and being like cute sibling moments. I see this future. I forgot about the Drive Across America tour.
Where are our Drive Shaft fan edits? Drive Shaft funny moments compilation.
It's just that nappy advert. Top 10 most controversial things Drive Shaft did, and it's just the nappy advert. But other than that, I loved seeing Echo again. I was a big fan of that.
Also in the audio commentary, when Hurley comes out and goes like, did you see like a bald guy in a bathrobe with a coconut run through here? Charlie goes, no, I saw a polar bear on roller skates with a mango. And in the audio commentary, Jorge Garcia went, yeah, thanks a lot, white guy.
I thought you were going to say how Cynthia Waitrose said, I think we should have a shirtless man in every episode. And Jack Bender goes, yeah, well, we try.
We're trying. No, but that's the thing that's really important about our characters.
Is that they're not afraid to show their chests.
They're all ripped.
It's really important to our characters, I think, that they are all shredded. The other sort of throwaway moment in this episode is, which is a great scene that I'd completely forgotten about, is when Hurley beats the shit out of Sawyer.
Now I do want to talk about this scene.
Funny.
Well, is it though?
It's not, but it is.
Like, he's had it coming for a long time. It's well deserved.
Like, it's not funny from Hurley's perspective, because it's like Hurley's freaking out and no one's taking him seriously and he's being unfair, but also like Sawyer deserves it.
He deserves it completely.
And the fact that Jin is like, I'm not intervening, this is funny.
Yes, but it's like, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about the scene, basically, because on the one hand, yeah, Sawyer is horrible to Hurley because he, like, pretends he can see Dave, doesn't he, right? Yeah. Now, he might not have realised the impact that had on Hurley, do you know what I mean?
But also, like, don't make that joke anyway.
Yeah, it's just rude. And when Hurley is sort of punching him and he's sort of repeating back all of the fatphobic insults that Sawyer has said to him throughout the series, I'm like,
yeah,
yes, this is good, and he's finally getting the comeuppance, you know. But it seems like when Jin is there laughing, I don't know if he's laughing at Sawyer or if he's laughing at Hurley. And the fact that Hurley has attacked Sawyer is funny to people.
I mean, that's the thing. I guess it's like they're not reacting as if it's dangerous.
No.
But I more read it as like, Jin is like, yeah, deserved.
I hope that that's what it is. And I hope that we're not supposed to sort of laugh at the fat guy getting in a fight like this. Quote.
Yeah, that's definitely an angle on it. But I just guess I'm just like, I'm choosing to
yes. And I definitely think that there's enough evidence to justify that, absolutely.
Also, to me, that's like a moment of solidarity in the, like, people of colour victimised by Sawyer support group.
That's true, actually, yeah.
Where he's like, throw in all the insults he's called me as well.
Yeah. But yeah, in the audio commentary, they said they wanted to make it a comically permissive fight. I wrote that down as a phrase, because they were like, we wanted it to not necessarily be funny, but be something that the audience felt comfortable laughing at.
Yeah, they sort of said that it's like, it's kind of not funny, but it is kind of funny, which is definitely a lot of like Hurley's stuff.
Yeah.
Like if we think about like the scene in Exodus Part 3, all those flashbacks where he's like running through the airport and it's like, it's funny, but it's not funny. And this is kind of the opposite of that. Like, it's not funny, but it is funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. And like, you know, I understand as well, because it's not supposed to be the climax of the story. It's not really properly addressed or anything. And it's not supposed to be like, you know...
And like, Sawyer's not important to this journey.
No, it's not like, you know, when Jin beat up Michael, or when Sawyer and Saeed fight in the pilot. You know, it's not like that. It doesn't have the gravitas, and it shouldn't have the gravitas and impact
doesn't need to have
that those fights had. But, like, you know, like the bit where they talked about how they were trying to make it comically permissive, and Josh Holloway had the idea of, oh, what if Hurley's under the tarpaulin and then he pulls me in and I'm like scrambling like this?
Yeah.
And whilst that looked really good, it looked really funny.
Yeah.
And again, that's okay, but it is a little bit awkward, / I don't really know how to feel about it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. I do know what you're getting at. And I think, like, there is, like... The fact that the fight happens is, in a way, much more serious than it is treated, because it's like, first of all, Hurley is not a violent person. He's not, you know, we make a lot of jokes about how every character in the show throws a punch at some point. If you'd asked me before rewatching this episode, does Hurley ever fight anyone? I'd be like, no,
yeah,
Hurley actually never hurts anyone.
Happened, yeah.
So, like, it is out of character, and I think, like, the thing is, like, Hurley doesn't talk about his past, because he's worried that everyone will see him as crazy and that they won't take him seriously and they won't treat him like a human being, which is, like, completely valid, first of all, generally speaking, and also if you look at things like how Jack speaks to Claire when she's having the nightmares and stuff like that, it's like, if I was Hurley, I would be looking at that and going, no one can ever know what's happened to me. So the fact that he's even worked up the courage to approach Sawyer and try and ask for this medication is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
And to then have it basically reinforced for him that
Just
he
throw it
can't
back in his face.
he can't ask for help because people will think he's crazy and people will make fun of him and no one will take him seriously. So the fact that then he's driven to throw the punch is like, yeah, absolutely. And it could have been taken much more seriously. I think, like you said, because it's not the focus of the episode, it is easier to just turn it into something a bit more of a throwaway. Like, the fact that, like, Sawyer is not important to the plotline at all, you know? And, like, it's not about... With, like, the frog thing that they talk about, where he's like, I helped you out with the frog. You can help me out with this. It's like that Sawyer and Hurley going on that journey together was a bigger part of the episode.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm helping you out with this thing.
Yeah.
But, like, this is one scene that you could take out and the episode would still make perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I don't think it needs that same treatment of, like, seriousness.
Yes,
you know?
Totally. And maybe the fight is funny because Hurley's a funny character and he's everyone's friend and he's nice. And
because we're not scared that Hurley's going to do any serious damage to Sawyer. You know,
No.
like, you know, when Jin attacks Michael, it's like he could straight up kill him and it's much scarier.
Yeah.
But because we know Hurley's not a violent person, I guess there's not that fear of, like, what's going to happen, what is he going to do?
But then it's just like, how does that play into everyone's perceptions and the narrative that is presented in this episode about his, like, you know, mental health and also his weight?
Yeah. I do think in a way, though, and I don't necessarily believe this, but as a sort of devil's advocate, I think there's an interesting angle that could be taken of the perception that people who are mentally ill, especially people with psychosis, are inherently dangerous and scary and should be isolated from society because they can't, like, function in the normal world, and that Hurley's character completely disproves all of that, or, like, goes against all of those stereotypes that, like, even when he's in a violent situation, it's not scary and he's not dangerous, even though he has these mental illnesses that are perceived as dangerous.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hey, if Michael was there, he would have stepped in. He would have intervened. I do kind of wish Michael and Walt had been there for this episode.
Yeah.
Because I think there's even more so parallels to be drawn between Hurley and Walt.
Yeah.
In, like, their kind of being, like, fun and unserious and, like, not treated, you know, not taken seriously. And then actually they're experiencing very serious things. And also the linking of, like, you know, the magic of the island versus their, like, trauma and, like, how that can, like, link into each other.
Absolutely.
It would be really interesting if they'd been there for this episode.
Absolutely. And also, like, they were becoming kind of friends, weren't they?
Hurley
and, like,
and Walt were friends.
a lot of this series, but this episode in particular, I think you're right, it feels like there's a sort of Michael and Walt shaped hole.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Their absence is noticeable. And it's a shame because, like, Walt has literally been not in this series at all, right? Apart from
he was
appearing, whispering and shushing and covered in water. Apart from that, he's not been in it at all.
Toddler Walt was in
the flashback.
In the flashback, and he was, you know, allegedly behind the computer screen.
Yes.
Messaging
that doesn't
Michael.
count,
But that
though.
doesn't count.
Like, he's not in
there.
it.
He wasn't physically there saying things.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen Malcolm David Kelly, apart from whispering covered in water.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice if we could have seen him in this episode.
Yeah. And Michael's been gone for a long time now as well.
Michael has been gone for a long... I mean, how long ago was, like...
When did he go? Was it Hunting Party?
So he's been gone for 8 episodes, give or take.
A long old time, especially thinking about, like, in series 1, when I thought Claire was gone for ages and she was only gone for 4. Like, that's half the amount that Michael's been gone.
Hey, 4 and 8.
4 and 8. Hey, well, the numbers. Let's talk about them. Obviously came back in a big way today with Leonard. And also, you know, the deck was built to hold 8 people and 23 were on it. So it would have collapsed regardless.
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
And also how the numbers were present on that day in Hurley's life, which was so influential in the rest of the trajectory.
Even before he was, like, cursed by the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean...
In a way, he was cursed by the numbers in that moment.
I mean, it's something we haven't actually really talked about is why Hurley ended up in the hospital. So, he was on this deck that collapsed, and obviously he was blamed for it.
Or he felt guilty.
Or at the very least, he blames himself
and
his size for it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that's really interesting because it's something that is like, where am I going with this? Like, it's not what I would expect.
Yeah, totally,
you know?
Totally.
I would expect something much more kind of extreme to be like, because of the nature of the show, not because of, like, actual, you know, people with mental health struggles, but like because of the nature of the show and because of the way they build things up, like why was John in the wheelchair, why was Hurley in the psych ward, you know, it's like I would expect to have like a flashback where we like see a bit explosion or something, and like I think it's really important that we don't see it, because it's like we just understand implicitly from the scenes that Hurley remembers it differently, you know, to the way that it actually happened, and we don't need to be shown that. I think it's one of the rare instances of, like, tell not show is actually better.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, it is much more impactful to see the effect it's had on Hurley, and that's important because, like, it is a big deal, it's a huge deal, but it's not in the nature of the show. We're expecting something on the level of, like, arts blew up in front of him. But it's like, it's just this minor thing that has triggered something that has sent him down this, like, spiral.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I think that scene is really well acted. Like, there's a sort of very slight slow zoom on Jorge Garcia when he's talking about, like, how those people died and stuff, and the doctor going, like, they would have died anyway, and he's like, yeah, but I still went out there, and, like, I really sort of felt for him in that moment, and I thought it was really well acted.
Yeah, absolutely, really I agree.
Really good.
I think it's really well. I think that guy as well, the doctor, I think he's really good.
Did a good job.
I think we don't really, I mean, to my memory, we don't really see him again.
I'm really, like, interested. If any listeners out there know of any, like, essays or video essays or something that anyone has done around, like, the prevalence of psych wards in particularly early 2000s media, I believe, but, like, in TV shows, or, like, so, because I'm really interested in it, because I feel like the psych ward episode is something that's not uncommon.
It is very common to have, have characters.
I'm mainly thinking about it, because obviously we watched this episode today, and a few days ago I watched an episode of Supernatural that was set in a psych ward, and it was just so badly done, and it really made me, like, and I'm really interested as to why, like, so many shows felt drawn to it as, like, a setting, and why it was depicted so often.
Yeah, I think it's, like, I mean, on a level, I'm sure there's more to it, but I think there's an element of the, like, horror movie to it that is definitely drawn to in shows like Lost and Supernatural, where it's more of, like, a on the thriller side of genre, because of, like, the old stories about, like, insane asylums and people like Renfield and Dracula, and, like, people who've been, like, possessed by ghosts and then they end up in, like, straitjackets in padded cells and all that kind of horrible, really old, awful treatment of people, that it's just kind of continued.
Trickled
it's
down.
Like, endured as this theme, and that then we have, in a more modern kind of twisting of it, you have shows that do actually, like, confront, like, the trauma that is experienced in, like, horror shows, but still somehow also doesn't represent mental health recovery very well. Equally.
Yeah, I just feel like it comes up quite often. I'd be interested to hear if anyone's done any kind of analysis on it. So if anyone knows, please genuinely DM me or comment on the podcast or whatever, because I would love to read or listen to more about it.
It's something that would be really interesting to talk about. So, I think the thing to round up this episode, speaking of why are so many characters in psych wards...
Oh my god.
How do we feel?
We've not even talked about it. How have we not even talked about it yet?
Libby was there.
Okay. Now, anyone who is a long-time Lost fan knows that this particular final flashback, in which it pans around and Libby is also at Santa Rosa, is notorious. And a lot of people have a lot of theories based solely on those 3 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
And it's quite... and not necessarily divisive. Maybe it is divisive. It's certainly a big deal.
It's a big topic of conversation, shall we say. So, some interesting things have been drawn from this. So, all these times Hurley said, I know you from somewhere.
We now assume we know where, right? But he doesn't seem to remember her.
He doesn't remember her, so
did they ever talk to each other? I don't know, but she's got this sort of, she's staring at him. So does she remember him more?
Yeah.
Than he remembers her? I'm a little bit screaming and crying at this final flashback.
It's a bit like, it's one of those things where I'm like, how would you not remember her?
Different hair. She's got a wig on.
She's
got a wig on. But the hair is also a crucial part of this. Like, how long ago was this happening? Like, the timeline of Hurley's life is really hard to pin down, I think, because it's like...
it's none of it's
I understand that
concrete.
He wins the lottery and then his life kind of very quickly becomes very different, right? So, like, okay, the Hurley that we see when he's got loads of money and he's, like, buying all these businesses and blah, 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 is very different to the Hurley we see in these flashbacks. But that could just be the change in circumstance rather than a long time has passed.
Yeah.
We don't know. And why is Libby a brunette here and then blonde on the island? Like, and like... It's just like slipped in there.
And the wig is really bad as well.
It's just like slipped in there with no... It's not as bad as some of the wigs that we've seen on this show.
It's not as bad as Jack's, but like it's bad.
Like with just no follow through with that guy.
Yeah, it is like, how does Hurley not remember her? Did something happen? What, Libby was in... Okay, so also this is like Libby was in a mental hospital. So...
What could have happened to Libby?
She said that she's a psychologist.
Well,
is the case that she's not a psychologist? She's lying about that, and she's using therapy techniques that were used on her, and doing that to help other people. But similarly to Hurley, she doesn't want to admit where she learnt them, so she's pretending to be a psychologist. That would be a lot of lying to come up with in the moment when you're dealing with a plane crash.
Yes.
So like, I'm inclined to think maybe that's not true.
But I have my own theory. We've speculated about this.
We've got a lot of different theories.
We kind of have a theory that there's a possibility. Now, I'm not saying this is true. It's a theory. And like, I'm very willing to accept that it's not. But there's a possibility that Libby is not actually a clinical psychologist based on this little flashback. And like, my theory is that maybe she's like got some kind of delusion, and she like believes. So you're saying it's a lot of lying to come up with on the spot. Maybe she's not lying. She actually believes she's a psychologist, and perhaps she was like put into this institution because of her delusions that were in a different, like there was some kind of other delusions, or possibly these kind of like, I'm no expert on this stuff. But
that is something that has happened though. I mean, I've read stories, admittedly about quite old facilities in the UK where like, because they didn't have anything to do, the like patients would start doing things like helping with the housework and like changing the bed sheets and like washing up and like mopping the floors, and then they would start to believe that they were like staff. So like, that is definitely a thing that could have happened. Like, that's a thing that would be rooted in enough reality to be believable, you know?
Yeah.
But there is also a possibility that like, you know, she came out of the hospital and then decided to become a psychologist to help people who went through what she went through.
Yes.
That's also a possibility.
That's definitely a possibility. Also a possibility she was a psychologist beforehand. She suffered some kind of traumatic event that then has led her to be in the institution. Then she got better and has come out, and then got in the plane crash and dyed her hair in the process. There's a lot of unknowns.
It could be
There's a lot of unknowns, but I think it's an interesting angle to have of her not actually being a psychologist when you think about how she's behaved on the island, being the group's doctor, the tail section's doctor.
Yeah,
because it's
which
like
also adds a further layer to what we were saying way back about Bernard.
Yes.
Right? And about how him being a dentist gives him more medical credibility than a psychologist. If Libby's lying, he definitely has more medical credibility than her.
Absolutely.
You know? And like, for her to take on the responsibility, like, this is what leads me to think she isn't lying consciously, is that to take on the responsibility of being the group doctor when you're faking being a psychologist, that's a lot. That's like a lot to go through. And I think given like, with the tail section, it's very much like they do not, their kind of layers, the lies are broken down a lot faster, you know? Like, they're at a point of survival mode, like, I feel like she would be honest with the group, you know?
Yes.
I mean, it's also like, maybe she did a year of med school. Maybe the reason she dropped out is because she had, like a traumatic event happen to her, or she fell into a depression, and then, you know, so she did do med school.
Yes, that's also a possibility. But she doesn't take Donald's death lightly, because she uses it in this episode. She brings it up as like, this was an awful thing that happened to me.
No, and this is the thing, is I don't think she's like, it's again, it's that thing of like, is she lying? I mean, she knows where she knows Hurley from, right? We know that much.
We can infer that much from her facial expression and tone of voice.
Yeah. Well, every time Hurley
she had a rubber coconut.
Every time Hurley says, "I know you from somewhere," she's like, maybe we saw each other on the plane.
The question.
And it's like, hey, and the fact that when she like walks off with Hurley at the end of this episode, and like once he looks away from her, her face kind of falls.
Yes.
It seems to me like she at least knows why she knows him.
Yes.
And like, crazy experience for her.
Yes.
to be like, we're reuniting with the group, and you're trying to tie a tarp onto your thing, and this guy's like, let me help you, and you're like,
oh my god, it's you.
The guy from the hospital.
Why wasn't there a you moment, a Desmond you moment? But that's also interesting, because, like, Desmond and Jack is actually quite an interesting parallel, because, like, they had a really chance meeting years ago, and that affected them both a lot. And then immediately they recognised each other.
Yeah.
And that became a huge part of their character arcs going forwards. Whereas Libby hasn't gone, I know you.
Yeah.
It's you.
She has, for whatever reason, she has not told Hurley why she knows him.
And encouraged him, and encouraged him to not. I was going to say discouraged him. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Discouraged him from remembering.
Trying to think about where he knows her from. Eve, which is like where you say discourage him from remembering, when she's helping Claire remove this block on her memories. But she's encouraging Hurley. She's like, keep that wall up. It raises so many questions. I'm just saying it's a potential.
I'm more than happy for people to be like, no, Libby actually is a psychologist, and for you to say that she didn't help those people and didn't have the medical training to help those people is really rude. Like, fine. I'm more than happy. I'm just speculating here.
But she suddenly becomes a really interesting character.
Yes.
Which is the most crucial takeaway, I think, from that last scene.
Absolutely, because I think it's like, Libby...
Because before this, I kind of couldn't give a shit about Libby.
No, like in the other 48 days, she had some stuff going on, but she's kind of very much fallen to the wayside. Apart from having some cute scenes with Hurley and their kind of blossoming romance, she's not really been that active or interesting. Because, like, think about last episode when all she did was go, oh, I got stung by a sea urchin, can you help? That was her entire involvement in the episode.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't given her the time of day and the attention yet.
And then...
Now, boom.
And what we have, firstly, is a very skillful, like, conversation with Hurley that helps him out, and this, like, lovely romantic moment where I'm already like, oh, Libby's back, feminism. And then it's like...
Yes, and
plot
also
twist.
she's really interesting in this episode, crucially. Like, on Island, I think Libby's becomes a much more interesting character, and I really like her in this episode. And then to have the plot twist at the end makes me think, okay, she's now gonna be more relevant to the story as a whole. And you might be, you know, forgiven for thinking next week's probably gonna be Libby-centric. We're gonna find all about Libby's life.
And we might. So, but we'll discuss that next week.
I suppose we will.
So, next week, we'll be discussing SOS.
SOS is next week's episode.
Which is a banger.
Right before we wrap up, I just want to say Dharma Initiative Oreos.
Yeah.
They said in the audio commentary that those Oreos that Sawyer is eating had the Dharma logo on them. How cool is that?
Those? Where do I get those?
Literally need in my life.
It's a need.
It's a need, for sure.
So, yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for listening.
Please.
This has been a great one. I've really enjoyed today. I feel like, so much to say. Mm-hmm. I really love this episode. I think it's just really well done. I think in an isolated episode, it's one of the best and most well done arcs, like, of a character across one episode. And I feel that about a lot of Hurley episodes, but I think most especially about this one.
Mm-hmm. I think, whenever we get a kind of character study of Hurley, it's always a good time, isn't it?
It's always interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Lost All Caps Live.
Yes.
Is going to be happening soon. Very soon.
That's so funny that we did that in unison. Soon! Fuck! We just realised it's happening, like, around the corner. Soon. From when this is released.
Yes, on the 30th of May.
Yep.
At Cultplex, Manchester. We will be watching ? And recording the episode live in front of a studio audience.
We will indeed, and you can be part of that studio audience for the low price of £5. Tickets, I assume, are still available. Hey, we don't know.
Hey,
it's March right now, so who knows?
They just went on sale a few days ago. So, tickets will be available. Please check them out. Please come down. It will be such a great time.
Yeah.
Getting to discuss the episode with you all.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the meantime, you can follow us on any and all social medias, apart from some of them.
Correct.
Check out the bio for that one. Comment stuff if you have thoughts on the episode, you know? I feel very positively about the episode. I've not seen anyone think otherwise, but I think it would be easy to to have gripes with the episode. So if someone does, let me know. I'd be interested to hear it.
Let us know your theories on Libby.
Yes.
What do you think about the final flashback in this episode? Please, I am very interested to hear the Libby discourse.
Absolutely. And we will see you next week, having watched E.T. and My Own Private Idaho and SOS.
See you then.